Hello, I'm Dr. Baxter Bell for 101 Years. I'd like to talk with you briefly about the topic of menstrual irregularity. I'm a family physician by training, and in the years that I was in my full-time practice, I cared for many, many women who came in with lots of variability in their menstrual cycles, sometimes associated with pain and discomfort, sometimes associated with emotional fluctuations, and often very disruptive to their everyday life. And although there are a lot of underlying causes for irregular menstrual cycles that I won't get into today, I will mention that the condition polycystic ovary disease is one possible condition. If you have irregularity, it's certainly really important that you talk to your gynecologist or your family doctor to see if you can start to figure that out. But the good news is that yoga practices can be safely introduced at any point in your life to potentially have a beneficial effect on this particular problem. We know from studies that yoga is particularly beneficial at starting to rebalance the endocrine system, and the ovaries are part of the body's endocrine system. So one approach that I like to take to menstrual irregularity is through the use of three of my favorite restorative postures. So I'm going to share those with you today. The first one is known as Queen's Pose or Reclining Cobbler's Pose. You need a bolster or a big cushion from your couch, something like a block. You could use a couple of books stacked up to support the bolster on a nice little ramp-like shape. And then you need a towel or a blanket or just anything that you can roll up into a nice support for your ankles. So I'm going to open this up and roll it lengthwise and then set it out in front of me. So a lot of times when the menstrual cycles are irregular, there could be heavier bleeding than normal, less regular periods, so there might be a feeling like the body's retaining a lot of the material in the uterus that it would normally expel once a month. And so there's a lot of stuff going on in the lower belly and the lower pelvic area that can be very noticeable. So you might find this one very particularly helpful if you feel like things need to move down and out of the body. So you bring your feet together, you put a blanket over the feet and around the sides of the ankles, and then you press down on the end of the bolster. You sit in front of it, not on it, and then you bring your body slowly down and back. So you're going to bring yourself into this position with the legs in cobbler's pose, your arms resting by your sides. You might even put a couple of throw pillows underneath the arms for even greater comfort, and then you might feel truly queenly in your demeanor. Let your eyes soften and close, and then take your attention into your body for a few moments. Try to avoid the tendency that the human mind has to judge things as good or bad or right or wrong, and instead for a few moments just notice what's happening inside in a very objective and curious way. So you might notice if there are actual sensations in the area of the abdomen, the lower belly, the upper belly, the front, the back surface of the body. You might notice, in addition, if there are sensations in the chest that you can feel, or down into the legs, or into the arms, or in the neck and the head. And instead of, again, trying to fix anything, simply rest quietly in Queen's Pose and notice how the body feels today in this shape. If you can, I like to set a little timer that's off to one side of where I'm set up so that I don't have to worry about how long I've been in the posture. Some people love this pose, and they can be in this pose for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, conceivably even longer, as long as they can do that in a comfortable and safe way. After you've been in the pose for a while and you're feeling ready to change positions, you might bring your hands to your legs and bring the knees together. Rolling to one side a little bit, bring an arm down and come up to sitting. So that's Queen's Pose. And you can do that as a standalone practice. As I said, you can do it for 10, 15 minutes. The longest I've ever done it is 45 minutes, but it was a pretty nice little practice. It's the only pose I did that day. And then if you want, from there, you can segue into what's known as supported child's pose. So you'll need a bolster or a big pillow of some sort. If you have one of those big body pillows, you can fold that in half. That works very nicely. And you're going to get your blanket set up for a little comfort for your shins. You're going to have your feet near the back of the blanket. Your knees are going to come open. And then I take my pillow or my cushion and I turn it up so it's a little higher. You can push down a little bit if it's too high. And then you're going to rest your belly, your chest, and your cheek on the bolster. Once you have that set up, you're going to let your eyes close and you're going to hang out here for a few moments. Now, I want to mention that if your lower belly is very sensitive, you might pull the bolster forward a few inches so the belly has no pressure on it at all. I think that most of you will probably prefer that to having the bolster pressing into the abdomen. So reposition the bolster so it's underneath the chest and the belly is soft and relaxed. And then become more aware of your breath and a feeling of releasing the belly towards the earth. You might imagine that the brain inside the skull is relaxing towards your bottom ear. And you might notice the effect of inhaling and exhaling on the soft change of shape of the belly area. And although I will often stay in supported child's pose for several minutes, I usually don't do it as long as I do the last pose we did, the supported queen's pose. So I would recommend maybe 2 to 4 minutes would be really nice, and maybe at the halfway point, you would turn your head to look the other way. So after you've had a few moments of resting in child's pose, understanding and listening to the body deeply and seeing what comes up as you're there, you slowly roll back up and come back up to sitting for a moment. And then in the sitting position, I have to just check in and notice if internal sensations and feelings are shifting a little bit before I move on. From there, I move my bolster out of the way, and I'm going to bring my chair forward so that I can place my calves up on the seat of the chair. Some practitioners like to have the blanket folded and available to put their hips on. To come into position, you sit on the end of the blanket, you swing your torso down to the floor and your calves up onto the seat of the chair. And I usually adjust myself forward or back a little bit so that the back of my knees is free of the edge of the chair and not digging into the chair. If the chair seat is cold, put another blanket down so that you can have more warmth for your calves. And then the arms come out to your sides. So this is easy inverted pose. And you can just rest into this, closing the eyes. It's a little bit like the Shavasana position that we often finish a yoga practice with, but the elevation of the legs creates a slight inversion to the pose. And so it can be very helpful if one of the side effects of your menstrual irregularity is a tendency to get swollen or uncomfortable ankles. This can feel really nice for that. You could even put a blanket underneath your calves to have your feet higher, or some of you might like to do this near a wall and eliminate the chair altogether and have your legs up a wall. So all of those are nice options. However you position yourself, let the arms relax, close the eyes. And then I would, at this point, recommend that you just pick something to focus your mind on, such as the sound of the breath coming in and out through your nose is a classic and really good thing to focus on. So as you settle in, turning your attention to the feeling of an easy breath coming in and out, allow yourself to drop into easy supported position for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Again, setting a timer can be very helpful, so you don't have to worry at all about how much time has gone by. You can simply drop in and fully enjoy the rest that your body can derive from being in positions like this. When you feel it's time to come out of the position, you'll bring your feet gently towards the front edge of the chair. You'll roll to one side. Use your hand to bring yourself up to sitting. In all of those poses that I've shared with you in this segment, you can definitely click on the relaxation breath technique that's on this app and utilize that breath awareness very beautifully for all of these. So hopefully this will give you some tools that you can work with as you try to unravel the mystery of the irregular menstrual cycles that you might be encountering. I wish you good healing. Namaste.